They wave back. I'm like, it's good. They know. I was waving at you. Good to see you. So here we are, continuing in our little bit of our discussion and our practice. I'm going to see if I'm okay for sound. I just heard a little feedback, so I want to make sure. I'll give a heads up. If you can hear me, I can see Ryan, Anthony, and Bill and Maureen. Are you hearing me okay? Thank you. All right, so we're going to be working today on a different element or different aspect of prajna, which means wisdom, luminous wisdom, radiant, natural wisdom. And by natural, what I mean is our true nature, the wisdom of our true nature. Wisdom. And prajnaparamita has many aspects, and we've been practicing. So if you've been practicing with me this week and part of last week, what you're noticing is that I've been practicing resting once again, very much like our original Bardo practice, resting in a luminous open space. And if we were going to translate that practice to the teachings of the paramitas, you would say that that practice is practice within the ultimate bodhicitta, the ultimate realm of bodhicitta, no object. And so you've noticed that some of the language I've been using in the last few days includes instructions like no color, no size, no beginning, no end, ageless, deathless, signless, birthless. So, right, no one permanent condition. And that is also the nature of ultimate bodhicitta, ultimate, beyond all conditions, beyond concepts of love, beyond ideas of kindness, beyond our roles, rules, beyond the social context that we see ourselves, right? So if you could imagine ultimate meaning not limited by any of these earthly, worldly realms, right? Ultimate bodhicitta. And the teachings, particularly in the Tibetan tradition, the Mahayana that we are studying, says this is ultimately our true nature. We are not limited by because I'm male, because I'm female, because I'm black, because I'm white, because I live in Encinitas, because I live in Mira Mesa, that ultimate bodhicitta, or the awakening of the heart mind, is not limited. And don't we know it to be true, right? I absolutely know this truth. There's no question, I have to tell you, in any part of me, that love, really by its nature, and consequently our true nature, is not limited in any of these ways. And in fact, what a beautiful time in the world where we're pushing up against, aren't we? Sometimes forcefully, sometimes with intensity, sometimes with ferocity, up against all those old concepts, aren't we? We're saying, no, not limited by this. No, we should not be limited by race. No, we should not be limited by gender, right? In fact, right? We see all of this. This is a part of the necessary evolution. And yes, the truth is, I have to say honestly, it comes with discomfort, doesn't it? It comes with pain for not having solid ground anymore. It comes with confusion. I don't know how to be with this. It comes with preference. It comes with conditioning. It simply comes with old conditioning that to some extent, some of us have been comfortable resting in, and others of us are really very willingly. I love this Sangha. I have noticed consistently this group willing to push up against the edge and say, wait a minute, I'm going to break beyond my old idea of what male-female race was, beyond ideas about who I was. And this is the ultimate for me, isn't it? In moving beyond the barriers and the limits, is to go, the fact the I have conceived has all along been false. All along was not who I really was, right? This is where the ultimate, and as we push up against the boundaries and the barriers of this, what do? We go, oh, wow, and I have misunderstood all others as a result of my limit, not of theirs. Look at where we place right? Like if only you could get it together, I could really love you. If only you could be kinder, gentler, more compassionate, right? And we all do it. So there's nobody better be shaking their head in this gallery. I don't want to see anybody go, no, I don't know. I've never done that. You're doing that right now in some way or another, right? And so the truth is, we're going to move today from the ultimate bodhicitta, the resting in the vast, luminous, open space. And I wanted to begin there, because we're going to have to find our way back into the open space. And it's been my invitation to you for the last 2 weeks, right in the middle of the contraction, right in the middle of the concept making, right in the middle of the politicizing, right in the middle. There is some practice. There is mind training or lojong training to do. And we're going to formalize that now. The last 2 weeks I've just said, see if you can't rest back. See if you can't get a vision of the sky, even look at the sky, create open space, breathe into open space. Well, now we're actually going to begin filling it. This is relative bodhicitta. We're going to now begin to work on the ground, as they say, on the ground of being, right here in this relative real life with practices. And so today's practice is going to be one of the aspects of Tonglen practice, a relative bodhicitta in this world with each other, right? And beginning with oneself, relative. How do we live then? And this is critically important to me. How do we live this awakened heart mind? And it is understood that Tonglen is one of the key practices, mind practices and teachings for the cultivation and development of relative bodhicitta. So does that make sense so far? I'm going to look at my friends, the folks I can see right here, and I've only got a few. Are you understanding what I'm saying about this so far? We can't just rest back, can we? It's not sufficient. It hasn't been for me, is what I'll tell you honestly, just to rest back in vast open space. I've been in 30 days retreat and come out and kicked my car, folks. So, you know, all that good news, right? Like Om, and then, you know, the car doesn't start, and I'm like, well, how does this happen? And so we're training every moment, aren't we? The retreat never ends. It doesn't mean retreat time isn't perfect, because it was. I saw clearly some things that without that amount of space, stillness, and silence, I could not see. And I also was then able to see much more clearly my own habit nature for wanting things the way I want them. My own habit nature for believing that this should not be happening to me. My own habit nature for going, the least that could happen is once you get out of a 30-day retreat, your car should start. And it's just not true, is it? It was the perfect practice in the moment. And so we're going to be today talking about, what do I do on the spot then, in the midst of the confusion, in the midst of the grip, and also what we can offer. And we're going to look at the middle quote, which I'm going to ask everybody to practice this week, this mantra. that even when it's good news, when we are in our greatest ease, when we are in our greatest happiness, when we are in our greatest, I was sitting outside with someone yesterday looking at the backyard saying, how blessed are we? How amazing is this to be alive in the beauty of this day? And really right then, I'm going to ask now everyone to invite that phrase, when I am happy, may allow the goodness and the merit and the blessings of this to flow to all others and fill the sky. And fill the sky right in the good news moment. And then as well in the difficulty, when there is this moment of suffering, as I know this, may I too then be willing to take this on for all others who feel this just like me, until all suffering, all samsara, all dukkha runs dry. Right? Isn't it beautiful? It's going to be a reminder, isn't it? This is going to be an invited, prompted cue for how to continue to practice each moment now, not just cushion time. We're going to do it today, cushion time. How to practice each moment, this practice of sending, taking, and sending, Tonglen. And this is one of the phrases from the Lojong trainings that we will invite. That actually comes from the 12th century, by the way. I guess things haven't changed all that much since then, because there it is, right? Okay, it's been a couple hundred years, we could say. I'd like to look at the first quote. That is the ultimate bodhicitta. Is there anyone who would like to read that? That's just a little reminder about shunyata, emptiness, no conditions, no colors. And I want us to remember it. We're not going to focus on it very long today. If somebody would like to read it, just go ahead and come on.
I can read it, Diana.
Thank you so much. It's that top quote that begins with when.
All right. When you look directly at the presence of mind, no color, no shape, no form is perceived. Since mind has no origin, it has never come into existence in the first place. Now it is not located anywhere, inside or outside the body. Finally, the mind is not some object that goes somewhere or ceases to exist. By examining and investigating mind, you should come to a precise and certain understanding of the nature of this awareness, which has no origin, location, or end.
So we're going to be resting for a flash moment in the nature of ultimate bodhicitta. It's why I wanted us to read that. And then we'll look later at the second, which I have offered in one other session and sitting this week by Dilgo Kensei. But we're not going to look at that now. So I'd like you to prepare for sitting. Finding a comfortable posture. And as we begin to incline the mind first to the body, and please always begin this way. We know there's a bottom-up orientation pretty solidly in the neuroscience now, to know the body first. To know the body first. And so we're just going to settle into our feet. As we breathe out, just letting the attention, the breath and one's awareness move down into the area of the feet. Be careful of the habit of picturing or visualizing the feet, but not actually feeling the feet. We want to climb into the body. And then moving up from the feet, we can draw the in-breath and one's attention up into the legs. Just taking a breath there, making contact, direct, immediate. With these legs. And then I might ask the question, what's alive in the legs right now? This is a way of waking up to the present moment, right here in the area of the legs. And so I've taken a lot of longer walks in the last several days, and I'm noticing just a slight increased tension right there near the IT band on both outsides of the leg. We don't turn it into a problem. We don't make it self-oriented, just experiencing, sensing, as we've been talking about this week, the body in this way. Moving up into the hips. The contact of the sits bones, the base of the spine. The hip bones, seeing how you're oriented, forward or back, left or right, you can check in there. Moving up into the back. The tops of the shoulders. Feeling the weight, the flaccid quality, the ease in the arms. Down into the hands. Gathering ourselves. Suturing. Feeling the aliveness there in the hands. Moving back up the arms, up to the shoulder, continuing up to the cervical spine, and watch for the tendency to begin to tighten and stiffen, particularly in sitting practice. And so it's nice to kind of loosen that up. It's a habit to tighten there, all the way to the top of the head. Coming down then into now the front and softened part of the body, into the face. The ears. The throat. Seeing what contact is there with the breath. That light touch. Moving down into the collarbone, the beginning of the chest, the lungs, the ribs. Making contact with the heart, the physical beating heart. And now we're moving into the breathscape. We can begin checking in with these areas of the body with the movement of the breath. And so as we feel the expanding lung, we feel the rise of the body, the expand. And a natural contraction. Moving down into the diaphragm, the belly, down beneath into the abdomen, intestines, just checking in, softening the whole front of the body. And then resting just a moment in that breathscape. Seeing how you are. Embodied, enlivened, awakened. And then we awaken the heart mind as well as the body by calling to mind the aspirations and intentions for our practice. And remember, we have 3 levels of intention. One is to cause least harm. Just by your sitting here, you're doing less damage. There's less likely play out of the habits just from sitting here. This is good enough. And then we might contribute to the good. And to do so then, not only for one's own gain, one's own merits, or one's own benefit, but to begin by offering those merits not only to one's own happiness, but the happiness of others. And then calling to mind someone to whom you'd like to dedicate this practice. May this practice be of benefit to all beings everywhere, without exception, omitting none, freeing us all. And as I strike the bell, we're going to begin with the first phase of the Tonglen practice, which is a flash of bodhicitta, a flash of open space, a flash of awakened heart, of care, compassion, kindness, a flash of awakening. Just listen to the sound of the bell. Let that be just as it is. And with the sound of the bell, we're going to move our field of awareness open into it, open space. And just following the sound of the bell into that space for a few moments. Igniting the awakened heart mind, letting it radiate out in all directions. Resting in the open, vast, luminous space of ultimate bodhicitta. No color, no age, no boundary, no edge. And no matter what else is happening, no matter the discursive or narrating mind, no matter the sensations in the body, we hold the space open. This is the nature of our own heart minds. We're taking the shape of our own true nature, resting. We recognize that whatever is arising is empty, that it does not exist independent of all other things. We don't grab, we don't cling, we don't reject or cultivate aggression. We simply let them rise and fall, recognizing the truth of impermanence. Resting back in the open space. We don't call it I, me, or mine. Settling, stabilizing, getting bigger. Dissolving all barriers. All limits. And the second instruction for Tonglen, the second phase, is a very simple slogan, which is the taking and sending on the medium of the breath. That's the whole instruction. The taking and sending doesn't even say of what, on the medium of the breath. And so we can begin by just checking in with ourselves and seeing how we are. Using ourselves for a moment as an aspect or contact with humanness, with vulnerability, with the realities of this relative world. How are you right now? Easeful, distressed, confused, bored, aggravated, whatever it is. And the experience itself is never a problem. And so to make contact with this, I like to move down into the heart space and make sure that I make contact with the heart and the belly. Beautiful mirrors for the qualities, both internal and other, that we're holding. So checking in there, seeing if there's any contractedness or an openness. You can check in on the qualities of the breath. Is it relaxed, natural? Is it even or equal? And then, however you are, the beginning of the Tonglen practice is to recognize first, this is the very first dissolving of the barrier, beginning to recognize that others, just like me, feel this too, whatever it is. And so the in-breath begins already to take on a different texture, a different quality, with the recognition that others, just like me, feel this too. We can also begin to know that with each in-breath, we're breathing in the reality of this shared humanity. And since we're already breathing, since we're already feeling the truth of our own humanness, we can then set the course, the Bodhisattva path, to begin to breathe in, not only for ourselves, but those others. And for just now, I'm going to ask you to pick one other who you know might be feeling something like this, whatever that was. And then I'd like you to begin to picture that person, call them by name. There's any number of ways to invite them in to our own heart mind. I like to actually picture that person being invited into my heart space where they have a place, where they belong. It invites a sort of expanding and creating of room for them. And I can even feel the need to get bigger. I was resting in my own space, and now there's a little extra stretch that begins to happen as I'm now going to begin to breathe in, not only for myself, but this special one, this other, who feels this too. And so often in the Mahayana tradition, in addition, especially when it's a negative feeling of confusion or doubt, restlessness, sleepiness, aggression, we begin to breathe in, and not only breathing in for us both, we begin to put a textural quality on that taking breath. It can become dark or cloudy, smoky, hot, thick. So the instruction is to actually imagine drawing that distress or that suffering, if that's what you've made contact with, in and visualizing it in this way. You can breathe it in, right in through the heart. So I'm actually imagining taking it right into my heart space. The other instruction includes breathing it in, imagining that the whole body is a kind of a transmuting organism. And you can breathe it into the whole body through every cell, every open orifice, however you can imagine really taking it in. Not only for you, but this special one, the other just like me. And as you're taking it in, by virtue of your very willingness, by virtue of your very intention to bear this good news, let's say if it's true, or this suffering, not only for oneself but others, we become vast, open, spacious. And we literally dissolve the particles of affliction, of suffering, as we're breathing it in. You could imagine a dark, smoky something being converted right by the very willingness, by the very open heart, by the very open space, actually being dissolved or particled, broken up, you could say, no longer stuck together, solid, fixed. Isn't it true? And we use light frequently as this dark smoke coming in, making contact with the light of awareness, the light of the radiant, awakened heart mind, that ultimate bodhicitta that we first made contact with, that vast open space. And there's room enough for it all. No collapse, no contraction, no struggle, no choking. There's room and space for it all. And it simply becomes particles of light. It can be a warm glow, a bright light. We are deconstructing this solid suffering sense, letting it become a fairy dust, stardust, particles of light. And in that goodness, in the contact with the good and awakened heart mind, we can simply then send it back out, transformed, transmuted. Breathe it out, sending that radiant light, twinkling, sparkly, luminous, filled with kindness, filled with compassion, filled with the qualities of the awakened heart mind, understanding that what is included there is whatever is needed. And so I was making contact, just as an example, with a little feeling of dread. When am I going to see my mother again? And I know there's a day when one of us will not be here. And the distance, the times between our contacts are long. And I could feel the tightness of that. I could feel the ache of that. And I know that she feels that too. And so I began breathing that in, that very felt sense of dread, that small fear, but still there, that invites the contraction. What if I don't get to see you again? And as I created space, made room, opened in kindness and love for myself and my mother, I could feel the solidness, the thickness, the heaviness begin to break up. And I could send it back out, offering it completely to her. And so this is a very specific form of Tonglen, using an identified benefactor or a person who is having difficulty. And it's a beautiful beginning. And that's the second phase. And then we move from the specific to the more general. Can I even open the heart wider, deeper, more? Can I even begin to include not only my mother, not only myself, but others? As I breathe in, can I expand and open to the reality that not only me, not only my mother, but all others, those who are human, those who are alive, those who have mothers, those who have people they care about. We can keep including, expanding this group until it includes everyone who would worry about not seeing those they love, not having contact. And I could breathe in then, not only for myself or my mother, but for all beings. Thicker, darker, smoky, black. Breathing it in, touching into the truth, and letting it become light, letting our own good and awakened heart transform this suffering by our very contact and our very willingness. And then sending out whatever relief or whatever benefit might be possible. And so for some people, the light, it feels like abstraction, disconnect. You might send a real object. You might send a blanket when someone is in the cold, a warm hug when someone is fearful. As Pema says, a cup of coffee on a cold morning. And see how it works for you. When we get into the more universal sending, it becomes somewhat impossible to send those things. And then we're just radiating the truth of the awakened heart mind. And make sure it radiates in all directions so that it touches all beings, all who know this just like me, this fear and dread of being separated from those we love. And really let it in. And there is another aspect to this Tonglen practice, because often we notice our own fear, our own contraction, our own distress, our own resistance to taking it in. We can feel choky, or we can get smaller rather than rest back in the open space. And when that happens, we can change the Tonglen to be first for ourselves, those just like me who don't want to feel this. This is a beautiful part of our self-compassion practice in the Tonglen. Who don't want to think about being separated from those we love, who don't like the idea, who don't believe it's possible to breathe it in for not only others but myself, who feel aggression, aversion, resistance, or just are spinning off into some other preferred delusion. And rather than reject or force ourselves, we come back directly to ourselves. And we feel for ourselves, beginning again. We don't like this, we don't want this. We want it to be different, we want it to be over. Once again, opening. And so I'd like you to, let's practice calling to mind someone in your family, very specifically. Doesn't mean it's completely unconditional relationship, as really they are. But I'd like you to, you can't make with an aspect of their difficulties, their suffering, their pain, their fear. And see if you can make contact with that for yourself. Like, I know this. Picturing the other, breathing them present. Seeing a moment of difficulty for them. Making contact with that. You can't leave it there. You have to know this too. And then begin breathing in that thick, dark, hot, foggy, smoky, whatever it is. And as you're breathing in, seeing if you can continue to open rather than contract, become edgeless, boundless, barrierless, limitless. Taking the shape of the sky or the vast ocean, recognizing that there is room enough, not only for your own difficulty, but this special one. And as you breathe it in, let it touch into the heart space, or the whole body, mind, heart, transforming it by our willingness. Offering love, kindness, compassion. Transforming its solid sense into particles of light, particles of goodness. The Tibetans say the good medicine. And then we send that good medicine back out on the out breath. We send it out. And first we can send it out, as we said in phase 2, to the special one, covering them, making sure they are completely immersed in that goodness, in that light. And then this third phase, when we're ready, is to expand that field, expand that heart, touching in, and now sending out when we're ready in all directions. Letting it touch our friends, other family, our neighbors, people we know and like, people we don't know, people we don't like, maybe even people we think we hate. May they too be free. With each out breath, sending the good medicine. And keep taking it in as best you can until you notice that you're running somewhere dry. It just doesn't feel available. It's not feeling as present. And then when you notice that, just let the whole space be filled with that light, that good medicine, that good heart. And rest back in the radiance. Rest back in open space. And let's do so now for the remainder of the practice time. Resting in that vibrant, open, spacious, luminous quality of awakened heart mind. Moving from relative bodhicitta once again to ultimate. No limits, no boundaries. When I am happy, may my merit flow to others. May its blessings fill the sky. When I am unhappy, may the sorrow of others be mine. May the ocean of suffering run dry. When I am happy, may I send it out. When I am unhappy, may I take it all in. Until all suffering is ended. And may this practice contribute. Taking a moment just to create a little space in the body, a little more fluid. Take a sip of something if that helps. So I have offered this quote earlier this week to several of the EMC board. And I'm not sure who's here, but if you were one of the people who received that quote earlier and you were able to investigate it at all, if you would come on and say a little bit about what your experience was with that. And then we'll talk about it in terms of this week's practice. Sounds like I don't have anybody here who maybe had an opportunity with it.
Hi, Diana. I'm here.
Oh, Kelly, how lovely. Good morning.
Good morning. I was thinking about this, and it seems that it's, you know, what one person is feeling affects everyone else because we're all connected. And so the when I'm happy part is easy. May my merit flow to others and its blessings fill the sky. But the other part is a little tougher.
Yeah.
But I think that, or, you know, I was feeling that if we take on others, well, you can definitely have more empathy for other people when you have felt your own pain. And perhaps that's what it means, is that you're offering to share that. And in sharing it, it helps it to be alleviated.
Yes. That's your very presence now, and awareness, right? That not only I, but others, and then we'll get better and better, say the Lojong trainings, at seeing others suffering as suffering, rather than as irritating, rather than as a problem, rather than as theirs, but not mine, which will begin to dissolve the barriers the falsely constructed barrier of this idea of self and other. And we begin not to be so self-referencing or self-cherishing about, well, you shouldn't be doing that to me, because we recognize that all suffering begins with some contraction, isn't it? We've been investigating that around one's self, always out of fear. So thank you. It is a challenging practice. It's why we practice this, say the Lojong trainings, both in meditation, as we just did, so as to invite the possibility of being able to wake up on the spot in real life. And so I'm going to ask a couple things of us. One is that we repeat that phrase or something like it. May I take in the difficulty, not only for myself, but others, and may I send out the merits, may I send out the medicine, may I send out the good, however you can frame that. I've been repeating that quote, and it's been actually quite lovely for me, because I often picture the sky myself as one of the characteristics of the open heart. And so it helps me to say, may it fill this, may the good fill the sky, and may all the bad be taken out of it, so that all sorrows run dry. So thank you, Kelly, for that. Anyone else who I sent it to? Yes, it's a challenging practice. By the way, it's considered advanced Bodhisattva practice, critical and primary Bodhisattva path practice, but also it's one of the reasons I want you, if it feels more usable for you, to make contact with your own experience several times throughout the day. This is the very beginning, right? Whether it's good news or a difficulty, make contact with your experience, which of course means you have to stop and open to get to that. And that then we offer what's available. So here I am making contact with that fear of being separated from those I love. And can I, A, feel that for myself, and then B, can I make that phrase, others just like me feel this too, which is the very beginning of opening the awakened heart mind to include not only the self-referencing, self-cherishing, and self-preoccupied self, but remembering that this is a part of the human condition and that I and others feel this too. So that's the very beginning. So if you can't get all the way through the 4 phases of Tonglen, I guess the question I have is, do you see a way to begin there? Making contact with your experience. We know from our self-compassion training that where we place the hand, right, the mind goes. We can place that hand right on our own chest, in our own hearts, make contact there, feel the vibrational, textural sense, whatever that is, breathing a few times, and then offering that continuation into the Tonglen, which is, may I remember that others just like me feel this too. Now I want to stop right there and see what you think about that possibility of that practice for yourself this week. Thoughts about that? Yes, it's not easy, but timely. It's always timely, as I have noticed. It's tough, yes. It's hard to remember, actually, which is why we also do the training in meditation. This is, I think, best done, I have to tell you honestly, as a post-meditation practice, which means every other minute that we're not just on the cushion, but I also recognize it's essential practice and training on the cushion, which is why I wanted to be sure to record today. Jim's making a beautiful statement. Sharing our happiness, our merit, our good news might dilute it. That's one of our fears, actually. And sharing others' pain might overwhelm me. This is a common fear factor that comes in, which is why I've tried to invite just the first phase as a beginning, which is to just, can we open to the reality, not just stay in self-contraction? Can we begin by just opening to the fact that others feel this too, and see what happens for yourself with that, holding that truth, while holding that truth? Because yes, it's advanced practice, and I think there are a lot of fears that actually come with it. I'll tell you a little story about that in a moment. In my own first experience of Tonglen, more spontaneous Tonglen over 20 years ago now, and how that happened and what its in fact result really was versus what my fears about it were. The idea of my happiness being of benefit to others actually motivates me to pay more attention to being happy. Yes, and we actually have to train to see the happiness, Seth, don't we? We really understand negativity bias. And the negativity bias says, I'm going to 99.9% of the time notice my suffering. I'm going to notice what's not happening. I'm going to notice what I don't like. I'm going to notice what I didn't plan. I'm going to notice what's not preferential. And so actually beginning to look for where our merits, blessings are, so that we can begin to offer them is also good news. I agree completely. And focusing more on them so we can actually offer them. What I want you to notice then is how it feels to make that offering. Because one of the things Jim is imagining and is true for us is that we begin to fear, well, if I give my happiness away, what's going to be left for me? Now, by the way, that's not been my experience, but it is a fear. Can we let the fear be a fear and practice with it anyway so we can see the truth? Because that's actually not the truth. That is the fear, though. So can we try it? Let's breathe it out. Send that gorgeous day that I was sitting in with others on the back patio yesterday. Can I send that out on the out breath to all beings everywhere? The person that actually came to mind very naturally for me, I'll have to tell you, that's how the practice expands itself. And those, these mind trainings are so beautiful. I actually thought of my brother. A specific person actually came to mind. I didn't even have to force it. It was my brother sitting in 98 degrees in 100% humidity in Chicago. And he just came to mind as I was just saying, I'm going to just breathe out this good. I didn't think of anyone, by the way, but here's this beautiful day. I'm in this radiant, gorgeous yard. Wow, here I am with a cool breeze, sending it out. And as I was just opening, my brother came to mind very specifically. And I was like, I'm breathing this right over to you there, Steve. And what happened from that was exactly the training, which said, what about all those other people who are hot in Chicago and New York? What about all those people on the East Coast who are afraid for their family, who have vulnerabilities in the heat without any way to be cool? And really it just expanded itself. And this is its nature. This is your nature. Not to contract in the face of it. That's the fear. But that's not who we really are. And I just saw it unfold itself right there. I didn't have to go, wait, step two. What's step two? Oh, there's the person. They just appeared. And then I thought, what about all those other people suffering? And it just expanded. What I did do was the fourth stage, which was resting back in the wide open space, but I didn't need to. I was already there. That's how that heart expanded. It can only expand in open space. It can't do anything else. It will be interesting and maybe easier to feel the pain with where the world is now. It's easier. There's plenty of it, is what we would certainly say. There's plenty of opportunity for making contact with difficulty, but the practice is to make difficulty, connect with your own difficulty first. Connect with your own struggle first. Connect with your own contraction first. And so I'll tell the story now, Jan, since you're speaking to this. We don't give it away first. We really work with our own contractions first, because we can't expand into that wide open space in the contracted state. And then I'll read some more. But so my mother's husband of 28 years or so, I had known him since I was a young teen, died suddenly of a heart attack. And he died right in the living room, and my mother found him there and was, I think you could say, fit to be tied. And I had a lot going on. I had young children. I was running a business. And I used it very conveniently, I might add, as a reason not to be there at the time. And that fear that Jim was talking about, this, what if it just sucks the life out of me? And so I wasn't there, and I knew she had friends and some other things. It's no excuse. I'm not trying to offer. And I have also forgiven myself for that vulnerability. But I go to the funeral, and I'm at the funeral, and I know that I'm going to be, I'm one of the few family who are going to be there. And I am walking up the aisle, and I see my mother at the end of the church aisle, and I think I don't have whatever it takes to hold this. I don't own it. She's going to fall in my arms. We're going to fall to the ground. And I don't have whatever I need. And in that moment, spontaneously, I'd already done the training with Pema. I thought, others must feel just like this. All these other people and me, like, what do you say? What do you do? How do you hold this up? And in feeling that, I just allowed myself to feel that. In feeling that, I could feel the beginning of the opening. Like, it's no longer just about me. All these other people here who showed up, who don't know how to make this better either. And then I could feel for my mother. Like, I could only imagine what this must be like for her, the suffering of this at 60 years old and in a new place and a variety of things. How must it be for her? And I spontaneously began, I wasn't really trying for Tonglen, just to breathe in, like the only thing I could do. There was nothing I was going to say. I couldn't imagine words being useful here. There was nothing. I could just open and begin to breathe in for her. All this confusion, all this not knowing, all this fear and pain. And I walked up to her, of course, and I was able to hug her and hold her and breathe in for her all the more. And it wasn't until later, maybe days later, that she said to me, I could feel you there. Other people were adding, saying things like, it'll be all right. And but you didn't say anything, but I could really feel you there. And we've talked about that several times. It's been over 20 years now, about this willingness to simply be open and taking it in without this idea of fixing or making better or getting rid of anything, which has always failed, by the way, and is always for yourself. It is always for you. Can we abandon the self-reference? And that's what this breath does. It says, no, You don't get to just stay in your tight little wad. You're going to have to open the door of this heart and actually be willing to be with, to take in then ultimately this. And I want you to see how that terrific fear that somehow it will deplete us, somehow it will exhaust us, somehow it will be deficient, is actually our fear. It's completely not true. I'm going to check here. I've got somebody on mute. Do you get this idea? And let's talk about what that is for you. How do you see a way of working with this? Remember, dropping into my own experience. If it's good news, send it out. It can be this simple. Dropping in on my own experience. If it's difficult, can I just simply remember that others, just like me, know this suffering, know this confusion, know this resistance, know this fear too? Can we begin like that and then repeat the aspiration, which is, may I take all the good news and send it all out, filling the sky. And I make contact with the suffering, and I take it all in until all sorrows run dry. Okay, let's talk a little bit before we end. Can we do the practice? Can we make contact? Can we make the offering in these very simple ways? Good news, let's breathe it out. Delicious piece of cake, send it out. Cool breeze, send it out. Lovely phone call with a friend or family, send it out. May all those benefit. May all those have the merits of this goodness. May all those rest in joy, in love. And it's these small moments, as we say in the neuroscience, small moments repeated often make for a big heart. Yes, the heart is the whole point. The words are not. In fact, for some people, words get in the way. That's why we use the direct experience of the breath, by the way. Because once we go into languaging for some of us, the quote is for reminder. It's actually known as one of the great reminders. It is not really for that very moment where there really is just the breath and the exchange. And that's the whole point, folks. It's the exchange of self and other, the dissolving of all the barrier between self and other, the seeing things as they actually are, not living through the delusion of solidity, separation, identities, fixation. We cannot hang out there and hope to make a better world. We cannot. And of course, look at the beautiful politics we have right now. What an opportunity. May I breathe in for all those who think they've got the right side, who think they've got the right way, who think they're going to figure this out by just taking a side. Oh no, not going to happen that way, folks. So I don't care which side you're on. What we know is, as long as we're inside taking, we're screwed. Yes, we are. And I had to do that just recently with my mother, who happens to have a different politic than mine, who was going, you know, okay, you think one of them's crazy, the other one's adult. That was her quote. And I went, you know, may we be inspired to find someone who can hold us all. Right. I don't want to debate who's better. I don't know. I just know as long as we're inside taking about it, we can't find a way. And I even wrote her a little something. And of course, she agreed. She agreed. She said, right. As long as we're separated, we cannot find the way out of this. And we will have different opinions. Okay. I think we're probably close to time. I want to just check in and make sure that everyone understands this. The other part I really want you to remember is that you can always feel for yourself in your confusion, in your resistance, in the I can't do this. Begin right there. Can I feel for myself in this moment of going, I don't have what it takes? That's how I started. I can't do this. I can't hold her. There's no way. I don't know how to be with somebody who just lost a life partner. I'm just trying to get through the day. And that's how it began. The heart opening began right there with, okay, but here I am. And right, I can't, everyone must be feeling this because what do you say? How do you hold it up? And in fact, there is a way. And I want you to remember that. Even when you feel like there's nothing, there's no way. This can't be helpful. It's not true. Your presence, your openness, your care, your compassion will make all the difference, actually. And I heard about that later, which is I could feel you there. And it made it okay. And I didn't say anything. Take heart. Okay. I think we only have a few minutes. I'm going to check one more time to make sure we don't have any specific questions about this. This is a beautiful practice. It's probably one of my favorites. Why? We're breathing anyway. Right? You're breathing anyway. You're alive anyway. You're feeling anyway. Why not use the breath itself then? Since here we are all together, in breath and out breath, and exchange in this way, and then see what else comes. I want you to notice what else comes when you open in just that little crack. Others just like me feel this too. All right, we're going to come back to Tonglen next Saturday, by the way. So please stay tuned for that. We're going to be talking about that experience. I really want you to be on and off post-meditation and meditation. You're going to need reminders. Please read the quote as the reminder. It will go into the Sunday newsletter along with the others so that we have those great reminders. The great reminder. Use the breath. Be in the breath. Okay, let's sit together for a few moments. And let's begin with ultimate bodhicitta once again, resting back. We let go of all language, all concepts, all ideas here. We see if we can't just make contact with the body once again. That knowing, sensing mind that knows the truth of this body and its aliveness. And we then rest back and open beyond the body into the vast open heart. We find the breath and breathe into that open space. Taking and sending, using the breath as the medium. Breathing in the merits, the blessings, and the benefits of this practice today. Breathing them in, taking them in. Touching your own good heart. And from that context, sending out all that good news. Exchanging oneself and others. No barriers, no boundaries. Remember our ultimate bodhicitta, resting in the vast open space of which we are each a part. May we dedicate the merits, the blessings, and the benefits of this taking and sending practice today. Using the breath itself, each breath as often as we can, sending out the good and taking in the difficult. I want you to see and feel and sense and know its effects. We become fearless, intentioned, and committed to kindness and compassion. We're going to be doing it on the spot, at the store, in the car, at the dinner table. Set the intention now. May I breathe for the benefit of all beings. May I take in all the suffering until the well of sorrows runs dry. May we all be happy. Breathe it in and send it out. May we all be free from pain, from sorrows, from fears. May we share our joy just in this way, taking all that joy and sending it out so that others can benefit and feel it too. May we rest evenly in the in-breath and the out-breath, watching for the habits of imbalance. Watch for the squeaky in-breath, the tightened in-breath, the pushing away, rejecting out-breath. Ugh. Get it away from me. That is not the exchange. So looking for equanimity right there in the breath. Taking and sending evenly with equanimity of both heart, mind, and breath. May we all be well. May we all have peace. And may this be a very good day for taking and sending. So be it. Thank you all so much for joining me for this Tonglen practice, this very advanced practice. There are many versions of the practice, so if you feel like, whoops, we didn't talk about one I can do, please let me know at diana@everydaymind.com, and we'll talk about this together and find a way for you to begin this practice. But we must begin. We must begin, and then we must continue. So if you go, I can't, because I can't get to the wide open space, talk to me so that we can find a way for you to begin as well. I look forward to being with you next week, Monday evening at 8, Tuesday morning at 7, and next Saturday we'll be back next Saturday to the Tonglen practice for relative bodhicitta, how to live it out, how to make it real. I look forward to being with you then. Blessings and love to all of you. Be well. I'll leave chat up for a moment. See you next week. Have a great weekend.